see how long I have a mic up for. Depends on how long I have privacy within the house. Hopefully you can hear my voice. I know the audio sometimes mix gets a little... Pull that down. Let me see. It's barely a sound. Alright, so maybe you can hear my voice and the audio mix isn't quite as distracting as it sometimes can be. I don't usually hear this back live. I don't hear it until it goes up. So, alright, let me get over into Harmony. There we go. Enough of this garbage. So here we are. So today I want to concentrate on just these keys here. That's a breakdown. I'm going to concentrate on these keys. Get them, if I can get these in a good place by the end of the stream within the next 40 minutes or so, I'd be pretty happy. I think in particular this one. So just these two. I'm probably going to work these two in particular, but I'll probably be doing a lot of adjustments to the ones around it. That is what is on my agenda for today. If I can do that, I'd be pretty happy. Let's get to it. And again, I'm going to be pretty quiet because I'm working. Let's get going. Sometimes I have to take a few seconds to get reacquainted with what I was doing. A little bit of a head tilt coming down there. I want this stuff to be subtle with the cup. You know, sometimes I get comments on these channels saying, on these videos saying, "Where's the animation?" And I'm like, well, you know, welcome to animation. That's how this works, man. Maybe I'm being a little too precious as I'm working. I don't know. Let's get it straight. Maybe I'm being a little too precious as I go, but I'm kind of skipping the cleanup process here. And I'm sort of like working in a tie-down pass on it as I go. So. One thing you do not see me working on as I'm working on this is my posture. My physical self. It's become increasingly apparent to me that my posture is becoming really poor, which does not bode well for longevity. And I should probably change this nib. Maybe starting to drag a little bit. I don't want it to scratch the Cintiq. Planet Music Vlog. Thank you, Frank. Videos like this will help our craft to live on in the future. I think so. I won't go that far. I'm just doing this for fun. Thank you for hanging around. The other thing you might notice at animation is lots of sighing. I'm like, so now, one thing I just noticed, his root. See how this is no longer connected? So like down here, this piece, right here, this section. So like his root is no longer there. And I'm trying to think. I could probably do to fix that. Leaning back a little bit. See, I'm picking up on all these little things as I go through. Like this original pass was a very rough pass. I did it in like 3 seconds. And then as I start to get into the keys, I start seeing all my stupid mistakes I made. Appreciate it. No problem. Thank you for hanging out. Hope you're well. So now he feels rooted. Like he's got legs down here someplace. Like there's feet and legs that we can't see. Whereas before, it was a little off. Minor. Yeah, like I don't like this hair spike now. It has occurred to me that I've been working on this now for almost a year. Certainly not straight. And there's been lots of time where I just don't even look at this. For multiple reasons. I'm just busy with freelance and work. In case anyone wants to know, I work full-time as an animator. So I'm always animating. And this is just something for me to do. Just to do something a little different. And because I just love below. One thing I've noticed is that I've been working on this for a long period of time, and sometimes you start to lose your way, and I definitely have lost my way with this. I can't, it's hard for me to see it now, as someone else might see it. If that makes sense. So all I can do is I can just follow the path I set down for myself. I can't see these hands. Yeah, I mean, yeah, this is like one thing. I almost feel like I should have abandoned this a long time ago, but see you through to the end. Forget it. Whoop. Yeah, I got a lot of loosey, like the ear. I mean, like, look what's going on here. Suddenly the ear grows hair spikes, and sometimes the ear doesn't have it, so And I think a lot of that has to do with just because it took me forever to get around. You know, I've been working on it for such a long time. You know, even within the Frank and Ollie stuff, where's my model sheets? You see wide-ranging. These are model sheets, and I don't know how faithful I am to these, but this is an Ollie drawing. Look how clean that ear is. That ear is pretty clean too. This has a, you know, this is like, I think this is a Frank Thomas. That's a very sharp line right there with a little bit of a curve. Look how rounded Ollies are. You know what I mean? I don't think I have any melts. That's a Frank Thomas. Yeah, but look how he differs between like the curvature of the nose there too. So the model is kind of all over the place. Even within the film, look at the difference between that blue and this blue. Very different takes. This is an Ollie. Pretty sure that's a Frank. Don't think it's a Milt. Pretty sure it's a Frank. Even the curvature of his neck here, you know. So, I mean, even within the movie, within the Jungle Book, I should say, there's lots of model differences and discrepancies. Get the neck to project a bit more, or the head rather, to project forward a bit more. We'll find some change between those two drawings. And right now I'm looking at the thickness of the neck. I think it's okay. See if we can work this one. And again, I have them. This is too. I want this to kind of stay a little more centered in this area, and this is moving a bit too much. Oop. And here someplace. And if you can bring it closer to his face to regard it. Audio is. Yeah, he's laying into that a little bit, so give him some teeth. Yeah, animation is all about sighing as much as possible. Yeah, look how rounded that is. And look how not that is. Yeah, it's fun. So I'm trying to get an idea of how they handle like more of a profile. Oops. This is also very wedge shaped. Mine is less. Maybe I'll pull a little more wedge in there. There's also people have a varying degree of the break here on the nose. That right here, this piece. If I'm not mistaken, Milt really puts a heavy break into the nose, whereas Ollie has none. Frank Thomas has some. Let's maybe clean this up a little bit. I feel like what I might do is I might run through here and I might actually pull the break out. So Ollie's putting that little dot in there, like this line, to denote the brow on the other side. So I'm stealing that idea. So I feel like I'm having a little bit of trouble showing the profile of his head here. I know for sure his neck got too thick. I wanted his hair to kind of react a little bit. Look at that head move. Bird just flew into my window. Romero D. Frirenz. Is that raster or vector? It is vector. However, these are vector texture brushes, so the brushes have. So this is a custom brush. As I zoom in there, you can see I'm at 250%, so we start to lose our resolution, but yeah, these are vectors, so I can pull them apart, and Harmony will stretch the texture as needed. Come on now, what am I doing? Pardon me. The other thing I can do is I can put that stroke down. I can play with the center line editor, which I should be careful here, because this has been known to sometimes crash my machine. The center line editor, even though this is a vector, I can still kind of play with it using this tool, so it's really nice. You can really get a lot of play out of it, and as you can see, I'll do one more demonstration for you. You know, I can, well, let's look at, if I wanted to add a little bit of tone, like maybe a shadow, which I wouldn't, blue doesn't have any tone, but if I wanted to, I can really kind of play with these settings kind of on the fly a little bit, make my brush a little bit, and this is the same brush, I'm just playing with the settings, and I can really just kind of hit under here. And I could play with these settings even more. Just pull this opacity and flow out. Oh, wrong one. This one. Now I could really kind of build up some tone. And again, this is all vector. So you can really get a lot of play out of just that one brush just by goofing around with its settings. I need to reset it. But this does indeed have a bitmap layers. You do have bitmap layers available to you, and you would get pretty much the same effect. Almost, the brush almost has a one-on-one correlation with each other. You lose some flexibility with it when working with bitmap, but the bitmap does have a different feel to it. That's all I can say about that. There is a little bit of a different feel. And these hair spikes are all the same size. I don't like that. I don't know that I like that anymore either. Thank you for the question. Hope you can hear me over the audio, over the music. The other thing I have this is projected too far back. His teeth, his jaw. See, now in Spectre I can take that and just shove it. I know you can do the same thing with Bitmap as well, but it's a little more friendly. Maybe his eyes a little bit. You got it. No problem. Thank you, Romero. There was a while there when I did work a lot in Bitmap, excuse me, and Harmony only had Bitmap tools. But then they upped their game, and let's clean this up. They really adjusted the vector tools, and they were like on par. So we started just using the vector tools. You can get a lot of nice effect out of this. What time is it? I gotta roll out soon. I've been up for about a half hour now, so let's see if we can just finish out this drawing here, and then maybe we'll revisit it at some other time. I don't love it. Still don't love this. Maybe it's this snout looking a little blocky. I don't know what it is. I don't love it. We'll table it. We'll get back to it. We'll have a little bit of a roll of the wrist here.
When you book with Expedia,
I've got an ad playing
like a
right
great
now.
companion, the
How do I get rid
Expedia
of that?
app has your back throughout your journey because it matters who you travel with. Click.
That's enough. Oh, another one for Nintendo Switch. Come on, go away. I'm probably gonna get dinged on this. Did you just have this on? I mean, they all sound kind of the same. There we go. Looking at his Right. Okay, let's try and finish this up. I'm going to end my stream for the day, okay? See that there's some problems with the arm down there at the bottom. And even though you can't see it very well, it still needs to be convincing. It's a subtle movement. Just something down here like this. Elioth Carson, hello. Would you ever consider tutoring me in Toon Boom Harmony? Thank you for asking that question. That's something I cannot do. I just don't have the time in my day to do something like that. I'm sorry to say. I have a couple of tutorials certainly up on my channel, and they're all geared towards the beginner. Or specifically when I was making them, it was geared toward the person coming from Flash, an animator coming from Flash, and because that's where I was at that time, and so they're a couple years old now. A lot of those tutorials are probably older, and they may not. Some of them are out of date, honestly, specifically with the shift and trace tool, and definitely in the deformation. Some of the stuff there is kind of legacy now at this point. But a lot of the material is still pretty good. I go over the foundations and the fundamentals and all that stuff, all the principles of what is happening when you're using Harmony. So everything I have up there is still pretty applicable. So I recommend you checking those out, and of course go check out other websites. There's Stylus Rumble or other channels, I should say. Stylus Rumble, and I know Ali has really good tutorials on his Patreon. Those are definitely a little more advanced, but maybe you can kind of ease into them. Even if it's just giving me small assignments to do. Yeah, I know. Again, there's nothing. I don't have the time to do that type of stuff. And I've considered doing like I teach at college in New York City how to use Harmony at SVA. It's time. It's just a matter of my time. The thing I can recommend to you, Alioth, if I'm pronouncing your name properly, is do it for yourself. Give yourself little assignments. If you're learning the software, and this is how I teach my class, and it worked for me. I taught myself how to use Harmony. Give yourself. I've stopped animating, by the way. I'm probably going to end the stream after this. What was I saying? Oh, give yourself small assignments, little things that you can start and finish within a relatively short period of time. And it doesn't have to be awesome. It doesn't have to be amazing. And certainly don't feel the pressure to put that on social media. It's for yourself. And the purpose of that is to teach yourself, is to learn. When you do little assignments and you give yourself little things like, okay, I want to concentrate on this particular aspect of Harmony, whatever it may be. Maybe something that's troubling you, whatever that could possibly be for you. You concentrate on that. Do it a little assignment, maybe a little piece of animation that's no more than like a second or two long. Something that you can finish, start to finish. That's the important thing, is that you finish the assignment. And don't I want to say it again to reiterate how important I think this is. Don't give yourself the pressure of like, okay, I'm going to post this on social media, because that doesn't do anything for yourself. That just gives you this weird pressure that you don't need, especially when you're learning. And then once you feel like you've tackled that, you move on to the next thing. You give yourself another little assignment. Give yourself little tiny assignments so that you always can come away with something at the end, even if and then give yourself a deadline too. That's important. You say, like, give yourself a week. You say, okay, within a week I want to have this little piece of animation done. I want to have this thing finished. And that way you are getting things done in a very concrete way. Now I can compare that to this thing that I'm working on here, where like I've been working on it for a year, but this is something I'm doing for fun. It's on the side, you know. It's something I can do when I have the free time. Right now it's Fridays. Who knows what's going to happen in the summertime when my kids are around? I don't know. I have no idea. So that's what I suggest to you and anyone else who's listening. Just do little things for yourself. Watch my tutorials if you can, and try and learn as much as you can from it. I hope that's all helpful to you. I think that's it for today. I'm going to have to end now. What time is it? Yeah, I'm going to start getting ready for work. I've been up for about 40 minutes now, so that's about time for me to move on here and get ready for work. I have to work, believe it or not. Yeah, you know what? I'm looking at this little thumbnail. See, I don't... What you guys are not seeing is I just pulled up my little streamer, and I can see the image. Here's another thing I'm going to give. Here's a piece of advice, a piece of art advice, because it just worked for me right now. I have this image right here, this image of blue with this model sheet here, and what I was getting ready to do was end the stream, and I hit my little piece of my streaming software, and I saw what I was looking at tiny. And I learned this a long time ago. Sometimes zoom out pretty far away. And an old professor told me this. And I was working on paper, and then I'll leave. We were working on sheets of paper. This was in college. It was 1920. What was it? 1920. It was not 1920 by 1080. They were 24 by 16 sheets of paper, and I believe it was a he at the time. He said to walk, you put whatever it is that you were working on. It was probably a still life of something. I was probably drawing my shoe or something. Not on my feet. They were whatever. You know, I had a little still life set up. Put it across the room. Turn around. Don't look at it. Walk away from it, and then turn around and look at it. And you're suddenly going to see all your mistakes. And that just happened to me right now. I saw all of my mistakes. I saw a lot of little weird things that I was not happy with. Like particularly, this should probably be a little more rounded. And it could probably project a bit more to show the curvature of his snout. That could be a little more rounded. When I zoom out, that feels better to me now. I know that is a minor thing, but that's something I can recommend to replicate that experience on a computer. Just zoom out, make it like really tiny, or at least something that you're not. Give yourself a different perspective of looking at your work, and all of a sudden, all of your mistakes. Like I think his arm's a little chunky. Yeah, it is. This arm has gotten way too chunky. So we're going to just unchunk it. It's minor, but those little minor things all add up, and they create, what is it, death by 1,000 cuts or something like that. So that's another piece of advice I can recommend to you. Maybe his nose is a little too high too. Maybe this could use a little trimming. And when we zoom out, it just feels a little better. I don't know. There you go. That's another little art tip I can give you right there. What's this right here? Thank you so much for taking the time. Before I go, would you ever make a series about creating a character and rigging him? We'll work on something this week. Yeah, you know, the thing... Well, or now I'm going to leave. After I answer this question, I'm going to leave. But thank you, Alioth. The thing about rigging is I know people can get really caught up in rigging. My advice, again, is to start small. Don't worry about building all the bells and whistles into something. Sometimes building more... Here's a funny thing. I work on... I've been in different productions that I've been involved with, is that sometimes the more complex you build a character, you can get a lot of flexibility out of a rigged character. It oddly kind of railroads you. You get more and more kind of stuck into the system of the rig of the character and about what it can and can't do, which is kind of strange. So the more complex the character, the more complex the rig is for the character, the more things you can do with it. However, it oddly paints you into a bit more of a box, which is kind of strange. It's harder to build replacement parts because other things depend on other things to work and function properly. You know, different cutters and masks and effects. They're all relying on other things within the rig to generate the effect that you're getting. Whereas if you can bust it back to something as simple as Flash, which has like almost no system in place, you can build replacement parts and draw replacement parts way easier. If you needed to if you need to bend the character in a way that is not initially conceived of, to sometimes make a foreshortened arm or a different hand posed, to break that for expressive purposes, it becomes harder to do. So what I can suggest to you is I go over that. I talk about basic parenting. I have a video about basic parenting, and that is not about children, but it does everything to do with how to create hierarchies within Harmony. That is literally all you really need to know and understand, just how things interact with each other and how they, when you move something, how it affects the rest of the chain. And I've always find that that's where students get stuck on the most. They don't quite grasp initially at first. Like when you have a hierarchy going, when you bend something, what is it doing to everything else below the chain? And I think that's something you just kind of have to make a mental leap. And once you kind of get there, things suddenly start to snap together. Okay? So that's it, guys. And I'll just reiterate, that's basic stuff. If you want to do like way more advanced stuff, there's a guy named Oli. I don't know his full name. He's on Twitter and Stylist Rumble. She's on YouTube. You can look those folks up. They have way more complex things that you can learn from. Onion Skin is another guy too. Onion Skin. I know he does more complex type stuff. But I recommend to learn the basics first, because if you learn the more complex things, it just gets more. It's more difficult to kind of grasp the fundamentals, and next thing you know, you're tripping all over yourself. Okay, guys, I'm gonna go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me this week. I'm gonna roll. I have to get ready for work. I will be back hopefully next week at the